She's back, and no, I don't mean me. Hey everybody, I have a really cool announcement coming up. Hi book lovers, and welcome to Book Talks with Miss Thomas. I'm Miss Thomas, and yes, I am back. I have taken a little hiatus. I've been busy with my job and my family life and all that, but I am back and I have been reading. I'm always reading. So in this video, I want to tell you, if you loved The Maid by Nita Prose, then you're gonna really love The Mystery Guest, also by Nita Prose, because in The Mystery Guest, we hear from Molly the Maid yet again. I loved Molly the Maid. If you're not familiar with The Maid or The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose, definitely check it out. Check out both books. You probably want to start with The Maid because you really get introduced to Molly the Maid and her gran, Flora, in that book. In that book, Molly finds herself enveloped in a mystery at the Regency Hotel where she is a maid, and there's a little bit of romance and some budding friendships as well. And I really love that book. So when the sequel came out, I immediately got it. Now this one, I got the audiobook. I listened to it and it was wonderful. So Molly, we don't really know. The book never tells us what makes Molly different, but Molly does have some differences, and some people are cruel to her because of that, but some people are kind, and she is the truest of true friends. And you see that. You see her loyalty and how earnest she is in her job and her relationship with her gran. So we don't really know what the story is with Molly. The author never comes right out and tells us what makes Molly different. And I appreciate that about the book because, you know, we don't really need a label for her in order to appreciate her. We just know that Molly is a very literal thinker. She gets into a few interactions with people who aren't being literal, and you know, sometimes sarcasm goes past her. And so of course, when she's embroiled in this mystery, we hear from the detective, who I think it's Detective Stark. We hear from Detective Stark, who is, you know, Stark rhymes with snarks. She's very snarky with Molly. And I just wanted to strangle her, you know, a couple times in the book because she is just really a jerk. And Molly had a great deal to offer. But I will say, no, I don't want to give out any spoilers, but Detective Stark does apologize in the end. Detective Stark does start to appreciate Molly in this one. And I love that about the book. I also appreciated that Molly's boyfriend was out of town during this book. So even though Molly struggles with a few differences, she is no damsel in distress. She does not need a man to bail her out of any predicaments. She doesn't even tell him while he's out of town about what's going on in her life, about the murder that happened at the hotel where they both work. So I really appreciated that also about the characterization of Molly. I think Nita Prose, I just really applaud her for the way she wrote her book, both books, but I also really want to applaud her and thank her for the way she portrayed a character who is different, because even though Molly is different, Molly comes out ahead and she's quite the scrapper. And I just loved that. I love that about the book, about both books. Okay, so anyway, in this book, Molly is embroiled in a mystery because her beau has gone out of town. She was going to go with him, but she needed to stay behind because the Regency Hotel had a special guest, a very famous author, who was coming there for a book signing in the tea room. And so Molly needed to head up that special event. So Molly takes on this other maid who is also a little bit different, very shy, very quirky, very nervous, minor character in the book. So Molly has insisted on taking this new maid under her wing, and she and the new maid are managing the tea event when the new maid serves tea to the very famous author and he dies from poisoning in the tea. That's not really a spoiler. That happens pretty much immediately in the book. So the story takes off with Molly trying to defend herself and her protege, and of course that requires her to solve the mystery because Detective Stark, as snarky as Detective Stark is, she doesn't solve the mystery without the help of Molly. She needs Molly. And there are points in the book when Molly very tactfully points out to her that she needs Molly, and those were really great. I just love that about the book. So another thing in the book is there's this character named Angela, and Angela is this bartender who is Molly's friend, and she's determined to solve the mystery too because she likes to watch a lot, or I guess she and Molly listen to a lot of podcasts. And so she sees this as an opportunity to solve her very own podcast. And so she goes around investigating, and she comes across these women who are like this weird fangirl club. They're like bizarre elderly women that flock together and follow, almost stalk this author, and they're so determined to to know everything about him. One of them is trying to write a biography of him, and so the bartender Angela inserts herself in their conversation and not so casually suggests that Molly is not really a maid, but a private investigator who's investigating the murder of this author. And so these bizarre elderly women, they go around telling Molly different things that they've observed in the hotel. And Molly tries to tell them, I'm just the maid, I'm just the maid. And they're like, sure you are, you know, because Angela led them to believe that Molly's an investigator, and the little fan club wants to solve the mystery too. So it was just a fun book. It was lighthearted and whimsical, and yet it tackled, to me, one of the most important and difficult topics, and that's how we treat those who are different. So I appreciated that immensely. The other thing I want to say about this book, The Mystery Guest, is that even though Molly's gran has passed away, she's deceased, the book flashes back to a lot of Molly's childhood because it turned out her gran knew the author very well and the author's family. And so Molly, as a child, had met the author because she was with her gran when she met the author a few times. And so we see that too. We see the gran as a stronger character. We see how she has developed as the grandmother of Molly. We also even get a brief visit from Molly's biological mother who, abandoned Molly and was not, I don't know, it's hard. I don't want to judge her because when we get that glimpse of her, it is kind of sad and touching. But I will say that Molly's mother abandoned her. We know that because she's being raised by her gran. And so we do get a little bit, when Molly's flashing back, she does flash back to her own biological mother as well. And that's very touching. Not only Molly, the character of Molly and the character of Molly's mother, but the character of Molly's gran and how she had this daughter who abandoned her child and how she had to step in and take care of this child, and also how she deals with raising a little girl who's very different and mistreated quite often because of that. There's this one scene in the public school, and I'm a public school teacher, so there was this one scene when Gran goes in for a teacher conference, and the teacher is a real piece of work. I mean, I would hope that teachers like that don't really exist. I can honestly say I don't know any teachers like that, but the teacher was horrid, and the Gran really gives her what for, and I loved that scene in the book too. That's not really a spoiler, that's just a flashback into Molly's childhood about the gran and how Molly witnessed the gran chewing out her teacher one time because Molly was being bullied on the playground, quite frankly, and the teacher didn't want to call it that. So I don't know. I just really recommend this book. I was so excited to see the sequel come out, and I know that if you see it, you should read it and you will love it.